right, Joe, let's do Azareye'h Thomas first because I know he's a favorite of yours. He is competing for his job. 3rd-round pick a year ago. Got hurt, but did get a chance to play, especially after the Sauce Gardner trade. And he looked pretty good from what my eyes told me thinking back to it. Let's break down the film. What stood out when you watched Azareye'h Thomas?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It always loads like the first play is sketchy, so it's going to take me a second here. So I'll stall as best as I can. But yeah, I like AZ Thomas quite a bit. To me, based on what I saw from him last year in limited reps, right, and obviously he has to play more reps. He has to be healthy. I think that he should be the starter over Nashawn Wright. We're gonna watch both of these guys, and I'll show you what some good press looks like, some good coverage looks like, and then we'll watch Nashawn Wright, who. I think he had 5 picks. 3 of those were pretty legit. 2 of them were absurd. The other 2 were throws that were very far behind him. So he kind of lucked out into two picks. But he is so boom or bust. And it's like 70% bust, 30% boom. It's not like, oh, one play it's good, next play it's bad. It's like 2 or 3 plays are really bad, and then 1 play is good. I remember like seeing him be signed and, oh, great, he's coming to the team, forced all these turnovers, but it's like, he got $3.5 million. And I'm like, okay, either a bargain or something's maybe wrong with his film. And I went and watched the film. I'm like, oh God. So I do think that Nashawn Wright should in my opinion, pretty comfortably be the backup corner to AZ Thomas. I think AZ Thomas at the end of the year could be the best corner for the Jets. I think he has that high. Again, maybe speaking more to the Jets roster, but I think he has that high of a ceiling. I think it'll be him and Pons who are the 2 best corners on the team at the end of the year. So, I have a good chunk of plays here. Again, I'll run through them pretty quickly, just a little bit of time restraints, but I want to get through a good amount of plays to just kind of show you, the good of him. And I'll show you some good of Wright and then the bad of Wright. But am I shared right now, Jake?
Yep, let it rip.
Okay, yeah. So he's top, and this is a few of these first reps are against Jamar Chase and Higgins, and this one's on Chase on 3rd down. So let's watch his coverage on Chase on 3rd down right here. And he disrupts the timing a little bit right there, and the pass is in front of in front of Chase, but Chase can't get his eyes around quickly just because he does a really good job of sticking with that route. And at the top of the break right here, he throws what's called a bam step. So he kind of has to fake the break to the outside, which just delays the break a little bit and then throws off the timing. But AZ does a really good job just right off the jump, right? Good base. His eyes are low, right? We talked about this 1,000 times. We want our eyes in the hips. We don't want our eyes in the head. So he does a good job keeping the eyes low. Also, again, for a rookie in his second game, I believe this is the second game he played snaps, fake aggressive press off the jump right there to change up into more of a motor, which is just like a soft shoe technique by AZ Thomas, staying nice and square. Eyes are still low on Jamar Chase, gets hands on, disrupts the timing of the route a little bit. He gets into that trail technique where he's underneath of Jamar Chase, has hands on him, again disrupting the route, and the ball is just they're not on time together because of how AZ Thomas disrupted the route right there from Jamar Chase. So you're talking about, I don't know exactly where you have Jamar Chase in your receiver rankings, Jake. I'm assuming he's at minimum top 5, right? Rookie in his second games and I believe his first game starting against him on 3rd down. He did a really good job right there. So yeah, I like him quite a bit. We'll run through the next play, press right here. This one is bottom of the screen versus not Jamar Chase or Higgins, but it's a good rep of press coverage with Thomas. And this one, again, I'll do this one really quickly. Just really, really patient at the line here. Again, staying square. We don't want to open up outside or inside too early because then guys will stem you outside to get underneath or inside to get underneath and outside, whatever it may be, but nice and patient for AZ Thomas. Gets 2 hands on, clearly disrupts the route quite a bit right here. There's separation because of the contact there. Does a good job of not taking like an immediate angle towards him because you don't want to be too aggressive with the angle towards him because he can get over top of you. So you want to take more of a conservative angle over the top. Does that. Hands on, then looks back to the ball. Really good rep right there from AZ Thomas. Again, this is a near pick versus Chase where there's a little bit of like a tiny little nitpicky issue I have here. And this is why Stevens gets beat sometimes vertically because he tends to look back for the ball late, and AZ Thomas does this a little bit here, but we're still talking about a near interception, a pass breakup versus Jamar Chase for a rookie in his first game starting. So bottom of the screen, again, good stance, shoulder width apart. Eyes are going to be low there, square, patient at the line, both hands on, disrupts the route. Again, just like the last rep, can't take too aggressive at an angle, taking one over the top of Jamar Chase. Now it's a little bit risky. Once the receiver starts to look back for the ball, you want to give it like 5 to 7 yards, and that's where you can kind of you could turn into the field and play the ball. But once they're past that 5 to 7 mark, you tend to want to play through their hands and their eyes a little bit more, because once they get to like 10, 15 yards, you're assuming the ball is going to be there, and then having to like turn almost like a speed turn here and get your eyes back to the ball. It could be a little bit risky just in terms of the timing, but Jamar Chase pushes off of the top right here. AZ Thomas holds contact with that right arm to field Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase tries to throw him by. AZ Thomas is able to gear down. He gets his hand in right here, breaks up the pass. It would have probably been a catch. Now his left foot goes out of bounds here, so he's not eligible to catch that ball, but it's a pass breakup and a near pick against Jamar Chase. Again, a really good rep. Again, be careful with turning your eyes into the field instead of playing through the receiver at the point where he's looking back for the ball at, let's say, 5, 10, 13 yards. A little bit sketchy there, but still, that's a nitpicky thing. So this is press versus Chase again. Top of the screen, I would say probably, I think Chase is probably the best receiver in the NFL right now. So top of the screen right here, inside leverage. And now we're seeing some soft shoe stuff. Or sorry, this is my fault. I put Chase here and I tripped myself up. It's actually Higgins. So Higgins, who's still a very good receiver, a lower end one or a really high end two, but still this time we've seen fake punches where he gets into more of a soft shoe technique where he's playing off or just a softer press. We're seeing two-handed punches, and now we're seeing really aggressive two-handed punches right off the jump, right? Sees the chest open, takes it super aggressive, lands the hand into the chest, completely disrupts Higgins, gets hands on, matches the route, completely locks up Higgins there. Like that is really good aggressive press from AZ Thomas right there. I got 3 left of the positive, and then we'll do 3 quickly of just some rookie mistakes that he made that he can improve on. Press versus Higgins, top, last third down of the game. So right here versus Higgins, again, have to have it situation for the Bengals. Third down, Jets are up. One of the games they won, and you're talking about him versus, again, I would say he's a low end one, Higgins, honestly, on most teams, but doing a good job off the snap right there. Again, staying square, getting hands on, disrupting the route. There's some detachment right there because of just the contact, but quickly works to get over top of the route, hands back on to Higgins, matches the route break on the out right there, and is white on rice on that route in a have to have it situation where Higgins is going to give his all to get open. So and impressive. 2 more left. AZ bottom, good press. Okay, so right here, I don't know who this receiver is. I don't think it's not London, but a really good job of staying patient here again by AZ Thomas, and completely locks down this receiver. I do want him playing in press more than anything, press man coverage, but again, super patient at the line, right? Stays square. Now the receiver uses a shuffle technique, so he's trying to shuffle to the outside to get AZ to open up to the outside, and as we say, like open the gate. So he's going to drop that left foot backwards, and he's going to cut underneath of him. But AZ stays really patient, isn't sold. There's like lack of explosion here, so he's not really sold on the shuffle technique and him breaking to the outside and maybe scouting reports before the game. He knows he can run with this guy regardless, so he stays super patient to the inside. Eyes are low, really good base, matches the break inside, gets the right hand in, and is, again, you really can't cover that better than he did right there. So some really impressive reps for a guy in his first year. Bottom of the screen, he blows up a screen here where the receiver like kind of stems at him a little bit and then works back to the ball. And I believe the tackle works out to AZ Thomas, but he's quick enough to recognize it where he blows up the play. So he's also willing in the run game, makes tackles in the run game. He had a few lapses there, but overall, another really good play by him. Just noticing, okay, yeah, obviously he's working back to the quarterback, enough acceleration. And like want to get back on that. And there's a lot of guys who might be a little bit cautious here because of this tackle, but he's ballsy and he's physical, makes the tackle, blows up a screen by himself for a tackle for loss. I'll get to the bad now. This is a missed tackle where, again, he needs this was a bad one. I believe this is Hopkins. He just leaves his feet way too early here. So some rookie mistakes from him. Okay, so sorry, it's like a bubble screen to Flowers, and Hopkins is blocking. But this is one where he just has to keep his feet earlier. Like, he dives way too early here. You're talking about, 3-4 yards away, ducking the head, not bringing the feet into him. Eyes drop, and then Flowers is able to break the tackle and push forward for a first down. So I get the aggressiveness here, but obviously we want to be more patient and break down better than AZ Thomas does here. So rookie mistake. Don't think it's a thing that's going to happen a ton with him because he's a pretty good tackler for the most part. This one, Ravens game again, he struggled a little bit in this game. He gets beat by Hopkins here, a little bit of a rookie mistake versus a double move. Hopkins doesn't sell this double move. He runs like a curl and go or stop and go, wherever you want to call it. Now, if a guy is running like a double move, typically, for the most part, you want to break to their upfield shoulder. Why? Because when guys are going to then break vertically, they're going to break at the angle of their upfield shoulder. So if you take an angle to their upfield shoulder, like we'll watch, so runs a stop and go. If he were to take an angle to the upfield shoulder, which is the left shoulder right here, instead of a little bit more vertical, he's going to be cutting off the angle he's going to be running vertical at. So you're kind of protecting yourself from double moves. He gets a little bit too vertical here to the inside shoulder, and that's why he's able to push past him and win this rep. I understand being aggressive, but we have to be aggressive smartly, right? So we can break on it, but break to that upfield shoulder, gets too vertical. DeAndre Hopkins beats him, should be a touchdown. He gets, a little bit of he gets hands on there, so disrupts it a little bit. So give him credit at that point. But it's a situation where, on target ball, we're talking about a touchdown versus a double move. So we got to be a little bit better in terms of how to play the double move on that one. And I got one left of him, and then we'll get into Nashawn Wright. AZ Thomas search tech penalty. So this is one we just want to see him be a little bit more patient. So running like a quarters coverage in the red zone. So if one, I forget, it's is one Mooney? I think one is Mooney for the Falcons, I believe. Yeah, Mooney. So if he takes it vertical to the outside, he's going to be locked in man coverage. If he breaks inside quickly, it's going to be the safety's job to pick him up in at least this type of quarters coverage. So he breaks quickly inside, safety takes him, and then he does what's called a search technique. So he's basically just going to drop back, kind of shuffle, and looking for anything crossing from the opposite side of the field. And that's exactly what happens. So breaks inside, passes it off, safety jumps on it. Now he's doing that search technique, right? So he's looking for anything crossing right here, assisting the passing strength side, because now there's nothing here for him to guard. So he finds the target. The problem is he gets a little bit overzealous and grabs him and ends up getting a PI there. So he has to be a little bit more patient in terms of like matching him, cutting him off, but we can't grab him in that situation. I get it. You're in the red zone. There's a lot of pressure at that point, open field, all that stuff. But we want to avoid that penalty and not be as grabby there, be a little bit more patient with our feet and kind of cut off the angle a little bit better. But again, some rookie mistakes, missed tackles, not playing double moves, some penalties and stuff. But for the most part, the technique was really, really solid with AZ Thomas. Hoping he's healthy, but there's a legitimate reason that people were talking about him last year. Like, hey, a second round pick who probably should have been a first round pick. I saw that last year. I was genuinely very impressed with his rookie season.
The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, Joe, Kevin O'Connell, he noticed what the Mougey has been up to, gave an interview with the New York Post, and says that he's frequently texted Darren Mougey, complimenting him for all the moves that he has made. KOC, a former Jet, college roommate of Darren Mougey. If the opportunity arose for the Jets to hire Kevin O'Connell, your reaction to that is?
Yes, I'm obviously like sign me up, right? Like, who are you going to bring on here that's going to say like is going to say the opposite of sign me up for hiring Kevin O'Connell? Now, I don't think he's like a Hall of Fame coach or anything like that, right? He still has some things to prove, and the playoff. I don't think he's won a playoff game. Maybe he has. But I don't think he has. But last year, pretty solid with JJ McCarthy. Now, was that his decision? Was that the GM's to get rid of Sam Darnold? I don't really know. I'm not. Maybe I should ask Diana Rossini, but. I don't really know exactly how that process worked out. So you can blame him for that if that was on his shoulders. But overall, a solid coach. I don't think he's Sean Payton or anything like that. But I think, if you really were to go through all the head coaches in the league, I think he's definitely in the upper half, and he's probably closer to the top 10, if not in the top 10. Offensive minded, So yeah, I would, of course. You're telling me Kevin O'Connell over Aaron Glenn? Like, duh. Yeah, of course. I'd rather have Kevin O'Connell than Mike Tomlin. I'd rather have Kevin O'Connell than, I know we talked about Sean McDermott. I'd rather have him than quite a few guys. So, yeah, no doubt. And you have the connection there. You have the synergy. He's talking to Mougey. He's complimenting him. So he's keeping track of the team, the roster, and all that stuff. So, yeah, if he were to be fired, obviously they asked the question of why was he fired and how bad does this year get and whatever else it may be. But, yeah, of course, like, no doubt. That's probably off the top of my head of like realistic options. That's probably one of the better guys. It's probably number one, right? Like, who would you realistically expect to be available next year or potentially be available next year who you'd want? Who's, I'm not gonna say he's like proven. He's not Sean Payton in terms of proven, like when he was available for a trade or anything like that. But who else is out there, that you'd really want over him at this point?
Totally agree. And you probably would have to trade for him, because even if Minnesota was ready to move on, if him and ownership don't get along after what happened with the GM, where the GM basically lost the power struggle, if it just gets ugly, where then all of a sudden, Minnesota's ready to move on, you probably would have to trade for him. What would you be willing to trade for Kevin O'Connell? Because I've seen people go all over the place with their answer for this. Frankie V came on my show yesterday and said that he would trade away 2 first-round picks for KOC, which feels a little too extreme for a coach who's never won a playoff game. A guy who I think is phenomenal, but I can't trade away 2 first-round picks. He even took it a step further and said he'd trade away David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, and Omar Cooper Jr. for Kevin O'Connell, which, again, feels a bit extreme. But what would you be willing to trade? Because I would trade something. I just don't know if it'd be 2 first-round picks for KOC.
I might trade David Bailey. I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but yeah, I think a first round pick, right? Sean Payton went for like 16, 17, 18, something like that, right? For the Broncos, and 2 first round picks, I think, is just you're way overpaying at that point. Like, that's really never been done. Now, if it's Sean McVay, okay, you're talking about 2 first round picks, sign me up. But yeah, I would say a first round pick in 27 or 28. Obviously, hopefully the latest of the 27 picks, and then I'm hoping, obviously, the Colts finish in the top 3. We can get our quarterback, but realistically, I'm expecting those 3 first-round picks to become 2, because they're probably going to have to trade up to get into the top 3 or 5 or whatever it is. But if you could walk away with like Arch Manning, or let's say whoever your favorite quarterback is, or your number 2 quarterback is, and Kevin O'Connell, like, of course, sign me up for that. What's the difference that Kevin O'Connell makes in terms of win differential than David Bailey? Like, if David Bailey, does he even increase your win percentage by 1 game this year? Or like just based on him alone, do you think, okay, Jets are a 6-win team, without Bailey, we're a 5-win team? I personally don't think so. I don't think he makes that big of a difference. Now, if I tell you, hey, we have Kevin O'Connell versus Aaron Glenn, what would your prediction be for this year, Jake? If just Kevin O'Connell's on the team this year instead of Aaron Glenn?
Yep, multiple more wins, probably closer to 9 wins than 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was going to say 2, probably at least 2 comfortably, 2 or 3 game swing there. So yeah,
it depends on the first is how I would word this, right? Because the Jets have 3 coming up. The Jets could be top 5 bad in football. I don't know if I'm trading a top 5 pick for KOC.
Not
I'd trade one of my first if it's in the teens, right? Like, or I would structure it where, hey, it's a second this year and it's a first in 2028 after I already have my quarterback. I'm using my top 5 pick with for KOC to coach. So like, people just throw out draft picks. Not all draft picks are created equal. Do we forget it takes a whole draft chart to determine the value of said picks? They're not all equal. A first-round pick from the Jets is a lot different than a first-round pick from the Rams, who are going to be picking 28th or higher every year that Sean McVay is their coach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would be willing, like I said, to trade a first round pick. Top 5 in next year's draft. We have Arch Manning and Jeremiah Smith and Dylan Stewart from South Carolina. There's another edge rusher. I believe it's Texas. I just forget what his name is, but there is some really, really good players in next year's draft. So I wouldn't trade a top 5, but if you're telling me, 15, something like that, like, yeah, I would do it. A head coach makes a massive difference. And I'm with you. Like, I don't think he's some superstar of a head coach yet. He has a potential to be. But yeah, head coach has been killing us for a decade and a half now, right? Like, even Rex, like, he had his great years and he was a great DC, but in terms of being the overall head coach, was he the best in terms of like reaching for his friend's sons from Clemson and some of the roster decisions they made and stuff? So yeah, I think Kevin O'Connell would easily be the best coach we've had in, and this is sad to say, honestly, this is probably the state of the Jets, but probably in my lifetime, right? Or if not number 2 to Rex Ryan, if you want to argue for Rex Ryan, fine, but easily number 2, right? Like, I'm putting him over Herm and everybody else we've had, right? So yeah, I would be more than willing to do. Like, is he gonna make a bigger impact than I don't know, like a starting corner? Yeah, he no doubt about it, he is.
100%. It's a coach and quarterback league. This guy's a quarterback guru, and you'd be hiring one of the best offensive minds in the sport to help that guy be developed properly. I mean, KOC's never had a great quarterback. He won with Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, won 8 games this year with JJ McCarthy. We'll see what he does with Kyler here. Like, and the guy's got a 600 plus winning percentage with very suspect overall quarterbacks that he's coached.
Yeah, and it was 13 wins with Cousins and 14 with Darnold. Was that were those the record? Like, listen, and those roster. And now, obviously, Flores is a really talented defensive coordinator, and he was there for most of those years, if not all of those years.
But he hired him, so he gets credit for that.
He hired him. Maybe he brings them to the Jets. That's a possibility as well. He's a really great DC, but 14 games, or not. I don't think 14 games with Darnold. I think 13 games at Cousins is even more impressive. So yeah, you're talking about Cousins, who at that point, like we're talking about before, at best is a mid quarterback, at the very best a mid quarterback. So if you get Arch Manning, he turns into a top 10 quarterback, and you have Kevin O'Connell and Flores here, sign me up. And I know some people are saying it's like a reach or whatever in the chat, but you have to be realistic about what the options are out there. Like, realistically, who would people want? I don't know who people would want over him. People talk about there's like a young OC who's coming up who people mention all the time. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. But like a lot of these guys, like, yeah, could be Liam Cohen, could be Ben Johnson, or it could be the complete opposite way. Like, they're complete unknowns. And I get there's some unknown to KOC, but he's built more of a resume than any of those up and coming guys who's proved it for a year or two.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.